You're listening to the Law of Attraction Radio Network.
International success coach and noted author Constance Arnold delivers life-changing strategies through her own spiritual practices, as well as with best-selling authors and experts that she interviews. Think, Believe, and Manifest is specially designed to empower your mind and words to work for you and to bring about a life you've been dreaming of. And now, here's Constance Arnold.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Law of Attraction Radio Network. And of course, I am Constance Arnold, your most gracious host. And today I am broadcasting live with just a little touch of Southern flavor from beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. Guess what? I'm so grateful that you've joined me from all over the world today. And I can truly say that your life will never be the same again. Well, how are you doing? I hope that you are having a great day, a great morning, a great evening. And as I always say, no matter what time you're listening to this recording, it is the right time. Well, I am back from Aruba. I had a wonderful time. I love the people in Aruba. I walked on the beach. It was wonderful. It was inspiring. And I am refreshed and ready for you today. So we have Pete Adams with us today, and we're going to be talking about the science of getting rich, or the science of living a rich life, whatever you desire. So we're going to move quickly to that. But before we do, let me remind you about my products. You can go to fulfillingyourpurpose.com. And if you are being blessed and nurtured and your life is being changed, while you're on that page, you can hit the red donate button, and I'm thanking you in advance for doing that. And lastly, if you feel connected to me, if you feel that my spirit and my clinical background and my background in business is something that you align with and you're ready to really make extraordinary changes in your life, then I would love to coach with you, to co-create with you, to partner with you, to begin creating a life beyond your wildest dreams. So let's go quickly to these quick commercials because I'm so excited about this show, and we will be right back.
For the past 30 years, Constance Arnold has coached clients globally in the areas of relationships, wealth, and career. Her vast clinical background gives her extraordinary understanding of human behavior to accelerate manifestation. Every coaching client receives proven action plans to create change from the inside out. Constance will be right by your side. Talk to her today at Constance@fulfillingyourpurpose.com.
Do you have an upcoming event where you need a dynamic speaker? Constance Arnold is a sought-after keynote speaker that will enlighten the entire audience with proven strategies that are aligned with your organization's vision and mission. An experienced speaker for major Fortune 500 companies, Constance has entertained audiences with inspiring change. Constance would love to make your next event an extraordinary success. Contact her today at Constance@fulfillingyourpurpose.com.
Well, hello, everybody, and I'm back and really excited about my guest today. We're going to be talking about the science of getting rich, and my very special guest and dear friend is back with me, Pete Adams, all the way from Colorado. And Pete is the creator of the visualization system, and he's an entrepreneur, very humble, and he is an expert in manifesting and the law of attraction. It always excites me when he calls me and he says, "Constance, guess what happened today?" And I'm so grateful. So I want you to really get ready, because I believe that your life will never be the same again after listening to this man. So Pete Adams, welcome back to the Law of Attraction Radio Network.
Well, thanks for having me back, Constance. It's always a thrill, and I love being on your show because it's just such a blessing to so many people around the world. And I know that from the feedback that I get when I'm on your show. So, like I said, thanks so much for having me back on.
So how have you been, and what have you been up to, Pete? You're always up to something.
Well, yeah, well, pretty. I do try to stay as busy as possible, but now I'm happy to get back into doing some more spiritual work, and just started doing some more blogging and things like that. And I'm contemplating writing a new book, and that's pretty much it. Just living the dream and then just enjoying every single day on the planet and having just a wonderful life.
Well, you and I had a discussion, and I said, Pete, it's time for you to come back on the show, and we're going to be talking about the science of getting rich. And we could say the science of getting a mate, or the science of getting a new career, or the science of getting at your ideal weight. So we're going to be using principles. And so Wattles is the author of The Science of Getting Rich, but you sort of modernized it so that people today can really understand all of his principles. Is that right?
Yes, Constance, it's a fantastic book, and I've read it a number of times, and I've listened to it as an audio book even more. But one of the things I ran into when I was listening to his book and reading it, and the same could be said for the As a Man Thinketh with James Allen, is the language at that time these books were written around 1903, 1910, and the language was much different back then. So a lot of times when you're reading this book, it's kind of like, what do they really mean? So what I did was I went into excuse me, The Science of Getting Rich, and I kind of summarized all the chapters in today's language with my interpretation of it. So that's kind of what we ended up with, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay, so I want everybody to just listen and be open. So we're going to take the whole show, Pete, and just talk about this. So let's get started. So tell our listeners what Wattles called the right to be rich. Do we have a right to be rich? What does that mean?
Absolutely. Wattles believed that everyone's unalienable right to be rich. He also believed that we needed to have a balance across body, mind, and soul to reach the highest possible in our experience. He believed that body, mind, soul were equally important to fulfilling life. And he also believed that these would be a suppressed internal desire, and any one of these would be out of balance. So if you went too heavy into mind or body or soul and neglected the other ones, you'd have a life that was out of balance.
Yeah.
And he said, an example we can give today would be, look at some of these Hollywood celebrities. They've got all this money, but they're extremely unhappy and their lives are out of control. So that's today's example of what he was trying to convey. And his belief was that if you didn't want to be rich, and he said basically you're a sinner. He said you're here to achieve all you can, and if you didn't, there was something actually wrong with you.
Yeah, because I mean, for all my Christians who are out there, and I get a lot of emails around that, that I always say. I got an email from a lady this week because it's the love of money, and so that's why God came, so that it says he became poor that we could become wealthy. So it really sounds like the right to be rich is like you deliberately create what you want in your thinking around riches.
Oh, absolutely. And the biggest thing is, I know I hear that all the time as well, Constance. It's almost like there's something wrong with being rich. And and there's nothing wrong with being rich as long as you're a decent person and help others, because it's just like you can live a far more fulfilling life if you have wealth and abundance versus if you live in lack and have poverty. It's just you're here to have the greatest experience that you can, and Wattles believe that is just if you can be rich, why shouldn't you be rich? It's your unalienable right to be rich, and you should be rich.
Well, I love it because he said there's a science to getting rich. And I think God is trying to get riches and wealth to us. So he's, quantum physics, science, so that we could all merge all of these principles so that we could align ourselves with what's rightfully ours. So, what did he say about the actual science to getting rich?
Well, Constance, this is one of the great things about with Wallace, and his whole thing was basically the book, The Science of Getting Rich, is really almost like a recipe, and he basically said that if you follow my recipe to becoming rich, you will become rich with mathematical certainty. It wasn't you might get rich or it might work, it may not work. It's a science and it will work, and that's what he was trying to convey.
And so science means it has to work. So that means if you're poor, if you're in a third world country, if you're black, if you're white, male, female, none of that matters as long as you align yourself with universal laws of becoming rich and business and becoming abundant. Is that right?
Constance, that is exactly what he was trying to convey. And his whole thing was, it was just like, it doesn't matter where you are right now. That has nothing to do with anything. Wherever you are, wherever you are in the world, whatever your circumstances are, if you begin to take action and follow essentially his recipe for success, which was the science of getting rich, and do what he tells you to do, you will become rich and you will become successful. And like you said earlier, it's not just about wealth. It's about anything that you want in your life. If you will follow this system, the science of getting rich and just incorporate it into your life, with mathematical certainty, you will achieve your goals.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more about the system. And so once again, it boils down to, listeners, I want you to hear this, not being a victim, not projecting, oh, Constance and Pete can have this, but that this will work for anyone who will work it. It's a universal law. And we're going to be sharing that. So that's good news, Pete, if it's a science to getting in a formula.
Oh, it's great news. It's wonderful news. It's the if for any of the listeners who right now might be experiencing lack or they're unhappy or whatever, it's just like, hey, you know what? This guy wrote this book, 100 so years ago, and everyone's still reading it today. And like everyone who works with the law of attraction successfully, it works. And the biggest thing is just controlling your thoughts and following his system. I don't know too many. I know most of the listeners probably on the show today have heard of the movie The Secret and the book The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Mm-hmm. And this book, The Science of Getting Rich, was the book that her daughter gave to her that turned her whole life around. So just think about that. Yeah, The Science of Getting Rich was actually the basis for, what turned into becoming The Secret, and with Rhonda Byrne. So if you want a plug for how good this stuff is, just remember that.
Yeah, so true. But she had to read the book.
She read the book a number of times, I believe, Constance. And then from there, she's embarked on her journey of interviewing all these experts in the law of attraction and putting together that wonderful program, The Secret.
So what about, I have a question, is opportunity monopolized? Is there a monopoly on opportunity, or can anybody become wealthy?
Wattles want to make it clear in his book that there is no monopoly over the creation of riches, and that the opportunity exists for all of us to be wealthy. He also touched upon the fact that until people will begin to think and act differently and begin to work with the laws of wealth, they will remain stuck where they are. Think about that. It's just like, if you're not going to change your belief system and what you process in your mind, things are not going to. It'll seem like opportunities monopolized, but all it is you're just blocking it. And to move forward, he also believes that everything in our physical universe is created out of the same material, and that material is limitless in the non-visible realm, which is what we all get down to in the when we start talking about um, universal life force.
Yeah.
It's I know it's quantum physics, but hey, there's stuff out there that's thinking stuff, and when you impress your desires and your beliefs into this, you project what you want into it, it comes back to you. It's like hitting a handball off a wall. What you put out there, you want good stuff, well, good stuff's going to come back to you.
Yeah, excuse me. And so really the energy is manipulated by the thoughts that we think and the feelings that we feel and the beliefs that we hold. So essentially, Pete, if people can begin to change their thinking about money and their feeling about riches and their beliefs, because until those beliefs and feelings and thoughts change, nothing will change. I think that's big.
Oh, it's huge, Constance, and they all need to be in alignment too. It's just like you've got to think, speak, and act all towards what you want or what you desire to have in your experience. And once you get into that mindset, well, the universe has it can't say no. It always says yes. And so it's like you get into the psychology of success or you get into the psychology of failure. Either way, it's going to show up. It's just law.
Yeah, I love it when you say that. And in my own life, I'm a great example of that. I would say with my mouth, I guess 25 years ago, I'm wealthy, I want abundance, I want prosperity, but then I would worry about my bills. So there was not an alignment there. I would spend 20 minutes meditating, but then the rest of the time I would be thinking poverty. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to do that? So I love it that you said there has to be an alignment of thinking, feeling, and your beliefs.
Oh, Constance, you really nailed something there, because a lot of people they'll start off and they're like, look, just like you said, a few minutes in the morning, and they're on top of their game. But then let's call it this. They come back to the real world, and they just cancel out all the good stuff because the rest of their day is just spent in worry. And it's got to be, like you said, you've got to be in alignment to achieve success. Otherwise, it's kind of like being in a canoe with one paddle on one side, and you just keep paddling harder and harder, and the canoe just keeps going around in circles. You don't get any place.
Right. And so you're big on the hour of power, but when you finish with your hour of power, all day long, you are still aligning yourself with what you desire, your thinking, your beliefs, and your speaking. Is that right?
Yes, Constance, and that's it's one of the major reasons why I believe I'm successful working with the law of attraction, of just working with spirit, because I never miss my hour of power, that.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it's just like I roll out of it, and I'm unstoppable. I am just crazy, feeling good and knowing wonderful things are on their way. And in the real world, my life's magical. It's a total wonderful place to be all the time. And for the listeners who haven't heard me before, it was not always like this. Let me tell you, there was a time in my life after getting downsized, I was broke. It was pure misery. And I came across these concepts in some of these books that we're talking about today, read them, took them to heart, and changed my life. And there's been no looking back.
Yeah. And because you decide to do the work. Okay, Wattles, let's see. He talked about increasing life.
Yep. Here was the biggest thing. Well, one of the largest things with the increasing life was the fact that we are here to grow. And we're part of consciousness, and consciousness always wants to expand. Consciousness always wants to give you everything you want to have, and more laughter, more joy, more beauty, more anything that's wonderful in your life. Consciousness wants to give that to you so it can all grow, and the whole consciousness expands. So it's like when you're doing great things and having a lot of fun, well, you're making the world a better place. It's not just about you.
Yeah. And I know he was really big on just really understanding how connected we are to God or source energy or infinite intelligence, and that we're co-creators with God.
Oh, absolutely. And that's, those are some kind of tough concepts for a lot of people to understand who are just kind of, just entering into the, getting to know the law of attraction. Essentially, the fact is just like, you know, on the spiritual level and on the quantum level, we're all one. We're all just one, just giant sea of energy, and we're all connected. So it's just, what's good for you is good for someone else. It's that was his whole thing was one of the things I love, Constance, when I was doing some research this morning, was I was looking on Wikipedia, and one of the big things that Wallace practiced quite a bit was, you're gonna love this, was doing creative visualization, which I'm crazy about. So we're all talking about the same stuff. It just might be in there, 120 years later.
Yeah, and I was telling someone that I guess for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I realized that it wasn't that I was trying to do it alone, but I was not as aware of God or that I was co-creating with God. It was kind of like I was thinking or just acting like I was by myself. It would kind of be like having Bill Gates in your dining room ready to talk to you, but you're trying to deal with computers on your own. So for listeners, the principle that you're co-creating with a loving, giving, supporting, you got a powerful partner in bringing riches into your life. And so that's why being cognizant and aware of that, Pete, and just letting that be a part of your life and success is just crucial.
Well, that's a wonderful thing you just touched upon, Constance. And the whole thing is, you're not here alone. No one's here alone at all. The source, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, is always there waiting for you to say yes. Always. And it's like you're never alone. It's just the idea that you're separate. Well, that's just some human concept that's really, incorrect.
Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say that the biggest lie is that we're separate from God. And so when you know that the spirit that created the worlds and the solar systems is working with you to bring riches and whatever riches mean to you into your life, you can begin to deliberately create what you want. And it's unlimited.
It's so true, Constance. And that's the thing. And the biggest thing is the universe will give you anything you want, but you've got to get in alignment with it. It's like whatever you think, it's almost like whatever you think is what you're saying that you want, even though you don't realize you're doing this consciously. But if you start thinking, I'm running out of money, you start getting into the fear, I call it a fear fest. Well, the universe thinks that's what you want, and you're going to get more of it. And until you change those feelings and those beliefs and that self-talk and your thoughts, until that changes for the positive, you're going to get more of the same, and you're not going to like it.
And so the principle here is that you cannot attract anything differently than what's in your vibration, or that's, not in your faith or belief. And so it's kind of like if in your vibration you want red, but in your vibration is blue. I'm just using that very elementary kind of way. You want to track that. So a lot of people are wanting, but they're not aligning themselves up with the thinking all day long, with the believing and with the feeling. You don't have to know how. You don't have to know how. Your job, remember, you're co-creating. God delivers. Your job is just to think it, to believe it, and to feel it like you already have it.
That is, it's so succinct. It's just how it is. And the one of the big challenges I hear all the time, if I had a dollar for every time I heard it, I'd be a gazillionaire. And that is, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, it's like, I got news for you. You're never going to see it, and you're never going to believe it because you don't believe it in the first place. And it's not it's backwards. The whole way the whole thing works is, you'll see it when you believe it, and you don't. You can see it in your mind's eye, and you can create it, and it'll manifest into your reality. It's
Yeah.
I mean, we've written books on this stuff, and it works. And I think one of the major challenges is people think they can just, well, in a nutshell, they'll hear a concept. People will hear a concept. They'll go all fired up, and then they only do it for about, I don't know, 2-3 days. Then they're just like, well, this doesn't work. And I'll go back to being my miserable self. Well, it takes time.
Yeah, it does take time. And I know for you, it took, was it 18 months for things to switch? And it doesn't have to take that long, but the principle is you have to stick with it. You have to keep thinking abundance, wealth, prosperity. I don't know how, God, I'm thanking you in advance for abundance, wealth, and prosperity. And so it took you 18 months, right, Pete? Am I right? Or was it shorter than that?
No, it took, well, initially I probably was 18 months before things started showing up. They were just like miracles. And and the one of the biggest things I need to share with everyone is, I started doing this when I was probably in my I want to say probably I was around 34, 35 years old. But just think about this. No matter how old you are right now, let's say you're 40 years old, and you've been living in with people who just have the wrong mindset and belief system, and essentially you've been programmed incorrectly for the last 40 years of your life. So it's not going to change in 45 minutes if you've been, living under this. Basically, to me, it's just this giant lie of most, well, I don't know, I guess I'd call it society.
Yeah.
Because society's got it wrong, period. I mean, it's like the people you think are crazy who manifest all these wonderful things in their lives, it's because they're not living like anybody else. They're living with and working with spirit, and that's what makes their lives magical.
Right. And so it's an inner wealth consciousness. It's an inside job, is what Wattles said. So describe to our listeners what he meant by how riches come to you. How do riches come to us?
You're gonna love this one, Constance. He basically said the same thing we say every day, but to him it was just, in a nutshell, you create riches and anything else you desire through using your mind, whereby you decide with clarity what you want, create a clear mental picture of having it, and then have unquestioning faith that it's on its way to you, which we could also refer to as ask, believe, and receive. It's the same formula for everything.
Well, I'm a great example of that. I just got back from Aruba this week. And last year in 2015, I said, I want to go to Aruba. And I just wrote it down and I thought about it and I saw myself. I didn't say anything to anybody because it's an inside job. I began to develop a consciousness of Aruba. And for my birthday on November the 7th, one of my dear friends, she sent me an email. She says, your birthday present is in your email. I'm like, okay. And I saw a Delta airline ticket to Aruba for 2000 for this year. And so why did that happen? It's not because I'm any better than you, but I set my thinking and my believing. And I asked her, I said, why did you do that? She said, oh, I don't know. I just felt led to. So you see, once you do your part, you're co-creating with God. The how of it just comes.
Constance, that was an amazing story. And it's so perfect because you just put it out there that I'm going to Aruba, and then let the universe handle the details. And I've seen that happen in my life, where it's just like, it's people out of the blue show up and provide you with whatever information or guidance you need precisely at the right time, and you never could have imagined it happening that way. And all I can say is kudos to you, because you're rocking it, girl.
Yeah. And so once again, to listeners, how do riches come to you? It comes to you through what you think, what you believe, and all of the above. Got to turn my phone off. Okay. And so he also talked about gratitude.
Oh yeah. Well, how many shows have we talked about gratitude? But Wattles strongly believes in the importance of having an attitude of gratitude in our lives. He also believed that through gratitude, that we become better connected to Source, which contains all the power of the universe. A key point Wallace also touches upon is that when people do not feel gratitude, then they start to focus on what is negative in their lives, which then attracts more negative outcomes showing up in their life. And I cannot say anything more than that, because it's just how it is. Totally.
And with gratitude, let's just say for listeners, if you don't have a lot of money, I heard somebody say this the other day. They say that, let's just say if you need $100 and you only have 13, if you would say, thank you, God, for this $13 and be grateful for what you do have financially, that gratitude is the great multiplier because you are grateful and thankful for what you have. It's one of the most powerful universal principles, because when you're looking at what you don't have, you get more of that. So when it comes to money, you're grateful for what you do have. Pete, even if somebody makes a donation of $5 to me, and to some people that may not be a lot, I personally send them an email and say, thank you so much for that. I'm grateful for every little small thing that I receive in my life. And the more grateful I am and the more thankful I am, because it's all about focus, the more comes to you.
Oh, I cannot agree with you more, Constance, because the biggest thing is, whatever you have gratitude for, you're going to get more of. And it's just like, and I know from that Rob and I had some businesses where we gave a lot. We made a commitment to giving a lot to charity, and it's just like, it's not like you're giving it away. It's like you're getting it. It's almost like every time I let's say I gave $100 to Constance through her website, I'll get probably tenfold that back in value in another part of my life. And you won't see the connection. It's just like, well, I won the lottery, but did it have anything to do with giving Constance $100? I don't know, but I'm not gonna complain about it. I just know that it works. And by you having gratitude for receiving that donation, it just opens the floodgates up for more abundance to come into your life.
Right. And I know I'd heard you mention before about being grateful for the things that are on their way to you. It's a great form of prayer, even before it happens.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest thing is, you don't need to wait until it shows up to have gratitude for it and enjoy it. And that's one of the major techniques in a visualization system is, have gratitude now. And the more gratitude you have now for this thing that's going to show up in your life, the faster it's going to show up. I mean, that's how it works for me, and it'll work for anyone else. I know that.
And so specifically, listeners, you can begin to say, God, I thank you that more money is on the way. I thank you that large sums of money are coming my way. I don't know how, but I'm grateful for it. I thank you for what I do have. And just focus in on that. So begin to be grateful for, and like Pete said, it's a form of prayer. It's focus. And then just more will be multiplied to you. When you talk about, and Wallace talks about this, when you talk about what you don't have, you keep yourself stuck in the same vibration and nothing more comes to you.
Absolutely. It's on paper, it sounds so simple, and it really is. But the biggest thing that most people don't have control over, they do have control over, but they don't exercise it, is control over their thoughts. You've got control over. Are you going to be grateful for what you do have, or are you going to be ungrateful for what you don't have? It's a choice, and it's black and white. I mean, it's either yes or no. And until and there's no maybe, because maybe is zero. Either you're falling down, you're rising up. You don't get to stay on the level plane. You've got to be moving.
Right. And once again, Wattles, who wrote this book uh, over 100 years ago, he talked about thinking in a certain way to bring riches into our lives. Expound more on that, Pete. What did he say about that?
Well, essentially, he stressed the importance of keeping your mind focused at all times on what it is that you want. Having an unyielding faith and knowing that it's on its way to you, which is just what you and I just talked about, Constance. It was thinking in a certain way, controlling your thoughts, only putting your focus on what it is that you are going to have in your experience, because you've decided you're going to have this. You've gone from wanting it to, this is mine, I own it, and I'm not going to stop doing what I need to do on my side until it manifests in my life. That's, that was his. It was precise, and it was clear cut. It was no wishy washy. He was just like, follow what I'm telling you, and stay with it, and you will get whatever you say that you want. Period. It's science.
And so basically he was saying, get clear about what you want. I want this amount of money or this kind of success, and be crystal clear about it. And then after you do that, begin to get a clear mental picture of it, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like in your life, and then just believe that it's on its way to you, and then take any inspired action steps necessary to bring that into your life, and be grateful that you have it now.
Perfect, Constance. That was precise, and you didn't have to put it in 100 or more pages. That is just what he is saying. And if you follow that formula that Constance just gave you, it's going to work. It has to work. The universe will not say no to you. Whatever you want, you desire, you put it out there, you follow the system, you get clear, have gratitude now for it showing up. It's going to show up. It's science. It's law. That's just how it is.
And I received an email, and I thank all of you guys for your emails. And the person who wrote me said the law of attraction doesn't work for me. And I've read, and everything in the email was about what's not working, and how they don't have money, and how money is really tight right now. So for listeners, if we're talking about money, and the number one question I get, Pete, is around riches and money, and that means that you have to keep your mind off of lack, limitation. You can't just look to your job. You have to just get clear about what you want, and realize that God has a million ways to get to you what you desire. But just reading that email, and I emailed the person back, the vibration of that email was fear, limitation, and doubt.
Oh, Constance, I couldn't even imagine if somebody emailed me and said the law of attraction doesn't work for me. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, what? It's like, well, I don't know who, I'm not sure who the listener was, if they're listening now, but it's like, I got news for you. It's working. It's always working. And your thoughts on lack are only going to generate more thoughts of lack, because that's what you're attracting in. So it's just like, it does work. You're just not using it correctly, because if you got clear of what you wanted, started having gratitude for what you do have, abundance will show up in your life. That's just, it's the truth. It really is.
Because see, there's a science behind the law of attraction, and that's what Wattles knew, like 100 years ago. So one thing that listeners could do is to get affirmations on wealth, riches, abundance, or whatever it is you desire, and begin to meditate on those and read them out loud, say them out loud, declare and decree them every day, and maybe 2, 3, 4 times a day. Pete, because I understand that Robin, your wife, shared that sometimes you'll have your affirmations on a card, and while you guys are in line at Starbucks, you're reading your cards, right?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things I do every day, Constance, is I put out my goals. What I desire to experience in my life, and like you said, while I'm in line, I'm just like I'm reviewing my goals. I'm staying focused rather than daydreaming about something that's not real relevant to my success. Instead of that, I focus on what, it's like, I know I create. That's the biggest thing. Is it's not, this is not something I think might work. I know it works. And because of that, I'm steadfast in my resolve to achieve and experience even more joy than I already have. So, I'm just fired up about it.
Yeah, and I'm going to say to listeners, this is something practical that I used to do. Let's just say I saw something real expensive that I wanted. And I would speak to that and I would say, I'll be back to get you later. So let's just say I saw some designer sunglasses. That's just an example. And at that time, 25 years ago, I couldn't afford it. I would say, I'll be back and get you later. And what I was saying on the inside of myself was, I may not have the money now, but money is on the way. And so I would literally say it out loud. Hey, hey, not so other people could hear me, Pete, but think it in my heart. And then eventually it might have been 1 year or 2 years, but I went back to get that. And then I would say, I told you I was coming back.
Oh, oh, I like that one, Constance. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be back for you.
I'm coming back for you. Okay. That's wealth consciousness. So what did Waddles think about the will, how we should use our will, and why is that important in attracting wealth and riches?
Well, the biggest part of that is the will is more, again, it's really being focused and using your, just being steadfast in what you think, believe, have gratitude for, and just know that it's done and it's on its way to you. That was his biggest thing. It wasn't like you didn't have to um, exercise brute force to achieve riches. And one of the biggest things he came up with was the fact that you're a co-creator, and what you do is you create wealth from, essentially, from the ethers, which is like spirit. You create wealth working with spirit, and you don't need to compete with other people on the, let's say, the human plane, because once you get into competition rather than creation, what'll happen is one day you have it, and the next day someone else has it. So stay out of competition for wealth and abundance, but instead be a co-creator, and then it's all yours.
Yeah, and so it's really like having unyielding faith and focus. Just all day long, you take your mind back to it, wealth and abundance. You don't know how, but your job is just to stay focused. Focus is what's big in his book.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the same thing with for everyone in their lives. It's like, focus on what you desire to have, and only focus on that. And until that shows up, don't let your focus go. And once you start getting once you get very decisive and really clear about what it is that you say that you want, there's strength and clarity, and there's power there, because it allows you to be consistent on seeing what it is that you say that you want. And it's easy for you to have gratitude for it. You can get into the feeling of it because you build consistency. So it's almost like practicing basketball. If you keep working on your foul shots every single day, before you long, you're going to be getting 10 for 10. And that's the
Yeah.
same thing with whatever you want to manifest in your life.
Right. And once again, it's that consistency and that focus that matters.
Exactly. If you want to be the greatest in anything, well, you've got to show up and you've got to put your time in.
A great example of that would be I had a young lady, and she wanted the richness of a committed relationship, but her entire conversation was, "It's so hard to find a great person, and my last relationship was." And so I said to her, "You need to begin telling, thinking, saying, and feeling a different story, because if you don't, you won't have the riches of a great relationship." So for all of the listeners who desire that, or you're married and you want to have a richer relationship, begin to think what that would feel like for you. What would that look like? What would you be doing? What are you saying out of your mouth? And like Wattles said, just begin to think in that certain way, knowing that you're co-creating with God. And so once again, we're not just talking about money, we're talking about having a rich life.
That is a wonderful analogy, Constance, about what you just said about the person there. Talk about their last relationship, or it's just to me that is like trying to drive your automobile while looking in the rearview mirror. It's like, before long you're gonna get into an accident, and you're just gonna get more of the same. So it's just like, oh, my last relationship was horrible, blah blah blah. Well, it's like that's the past, and if you focus on the past, well, you're just gonna create more of the past in your future, which is not what you should be doing. You focus on what it is you want, not how bad it was before, because that's wherever your attention goes, where your life's going to head.
Yeah. Well, he also talked a lot about acting in a certain way and taking effective actions. So that means we just can't sit around and meditate all day, Pete. We have to do something. Expound on that. What did Wattles mean about acting in a certain way?
Oh, you're going to love this, because you know how I am about action, and that's the thing too. It's like a lot of people, they think like the law of attraction is, you just have a couple of thoughts and then you just hang out and wait for the stuff to show up. Well, you need to meet the universe halfway. And the way Wallace felt about this was, it's basically a major concept for success with his system was the importance of focused thought and combining it with right action. Wallace stressed the importance of being efficient in every action you take, and that every action that you take is either effective and efficient, or it's ineffective and inefficient. The ineffective and the inefficient acts lead to failure, while the effective and the efficient ones lead to success. And basically every action is either strong or weak. Strong actions are those you take when that are completed efficiently, and it's just like essentially take the right action. Preferably it's inspired. And one of the things I want to share with listeners too is one of the biggest things that I didn't realize when I was younger, but essentially that you're always getting communication. Every now and then, how it is when you get a hunch and something just comes in. And I've really gotten to the point now where I really pay attention to that, because most of the time, whatever that information is coming in from, I don't know where, it's the right information. And it might be, take a right here instead of a left. And I always listen to my intuition, and I take the right. And if you do, you fall. It's like the breadcrumbs are being laid out there for you. It's your role to follow them, because they're shortcuts.
And God is always trying to speak to us. And I tell people, God's spirit is not withholding anything from you. If someone needed information on counseling and I had that, I wouldn't withhold that. And so God is always trying to get action, inspired action steps, your next step. What's the next thing that you should do? But I believe that it's in silence and meditation that you receive that. If you're spending 7 to 8 hours a day looking at television, maybe the noise of all of that is really silencing what the spirit is trying to get to you. That's why it's so important. Your hour of power, that quiet time. I'm going to say that again and again.
Oh, absolutely. All the answers are within. You already have all the answers and all the keys to all the kingdoms and all the treasures. You just haven't realized it. And like Constance said, it's just if you're spending all your time watching television, well, you know what? It's just like you're not too serious about your life. You'd rather just sit on the couch and watch your life go by and watch television. Well, that's it's your choice. But it's like if you want success and happiness, you need to get off the couch and get in the game.
Right. So he also talked a lot about getting into the right business. I know a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs. What was his take on that?
Oh, that's a real simple one. And with Wallace, he just really just said it's like your best chance of having massive success is to do what you love and love what you do, because you're a natural for it. And I mean, he was saying that 120 years ago, and it's still the truth today. Because if you get into a business that you don't really like, it's gonna feel like hard work, and it's you can be successful in it, but it's just gonna take more work and probably more time. And he said, and in a nutshell, what's your passion, and follow that. And that's probably the path of least resistance to achieving riches.
Right. He also talked about the impressions of increase. What does that mean?
Essentially, it was his mindset that always always believe that you're growing and achieving more and more, and just to know that it's on its way to you. Even, let's say your desire is to let's say you have a small business now. Better yet, let's say you're in a job. Well, what Wallace was talking about was, even though you're in your job right now, you can get into the feeling of having wealth now, and basically it would act as with the law of attraction to bring in more opportunities for you to achieve wealth and abundance. So it was just like having that. He was big on having a prosperity mindset, where it's just like, like Constance said, it's like, I'll be back for you for those sunglasses.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, oh, rats, I'll never have a pair of those, because I don't have enough money. No, he was just like, I'll be back for those, and I'll be back for two pairs. That's where he was saying you need to live from, and he's spot on.
So it sounds like that he wanted us to have an impression of increase in all of the affairs of our life, in relationships, and with your job, with your health, etc. So that's why we're saying this is not just the science of getting rich, but having a rich life.
Exactly, because it's not just about money. It's like, if you have all the money in the world and you're miserable, well, that's not the life of anyone's dreams. So it's about, it's like having wonderful relationships, having love, having friends, having wonderful health. Just think about, it's like we're all born with perfect health, but if your mind gets out of alignment, well, eventually you might find yourself, with some condition brought about because of your negative thinking. And, it's like, if you don't feel good, well, how do you get in the vibration of happiness? It's easy to, stay focused on the positive and feeling good than to try to dig yourself out of a hole to get back on top. It's easy to just stay on top and ride the wave.
Yeah, this is such a powerful a lesson that we're sharing today. So kind of give us a summary. I can't believe we're almost at the end of the show of some observations around the science of getting rich. What would you say to listeners all over the world?
As a wrap up, Constance, for Wattles, basically he stated that the masses are kept in poverty because of a lack of knowledge about the science of getting rich. or their belief in themselves that they can become rich. His observation was simply that the economic salvation for the masses has to come from people demonstrating success through working with the natural laws on the creative plane and sharing their knowledge with everyone. And in a nutshell, guys, everyone who's listening to the show, this is just what Constance and I are teaching you. We're here to help you have an amazing life, because we know you can if you will do what we're teaching you. And then, the more success that you have, the more success everyone has. So it's really up to you. And, I just wish everyone would understand this as well as Constance and I do, that you do have the power to achieve anything you say that you want. Period.
Yeah, you have the power. And so tell us a little bit about, are you going to be writing or rewriting The Science of Getting Rich in like a more modern format, or what's your thinking on that?
Well, Constance, we talked earlier. I probably will be taking these summaries and incorporating into a new version of Wattles' book, just so it's easier for everyone to understand. But I'm not sure what the timeline is on that.
Right.
So it's just whenever the inspiration comes, I'll put it together. One of the things I ran into was the fact that I was planning on using a certain title, and that title was taken. So it kind of sent me back to the drawing board. But just see what the response is, and if people want to, if that's something people are interested in reading, well, by all means, I'll put it together.
And your visualization system, tell people your website. Pete has a powerful book, a powerful workbook about how I always get this wrong. Is it 10 crazy goals?
12 crazy goals.
12 crazy
goals. You always get that wrong.
12 crazy goals. And your workbook is just powerful. So share with our listeners, because we probably have a lot of new listeners who could really take advantage of that powerful workbook. I mean, I look at it almost every day and use it in some form in my life. What's your website and your contact info, Pete?
Thanks, Constance, for the flattery. My website is actually my name, which is Peter D. Adams, and that's the middle initial D is in like Delta. So it's Peter D. Adams with .com. And like Constance said, we created a home study guide, which is phenomenal, as a companion to the book that I wrote called Visualization. And in a nutshell, if you haven't heard about visualization before, I basically teach you the techniques that I use in my life every single day to achieve miracles in my own life. And it works for me. It will work for you if you'll do the work. Period. And if for anyone who's listening to the show today, if they would like a free copy of Wallace book, The Science of Getting Rich, in an ebook, just go to our website. And there's a contact Pete button, which gives you my email address, which is visualfestation@gmail.com. And just email me in the subject line, just say, hey, can I get that book? And we'll get it right out to you for free.
Pete, I just love you and Robin. You two are just such big givers, and I love, even though you're quiet about it, you and Robin live a very successful, rich, and purposeful life, and I'm just so grateful to God for both of you, and you are a great demonstration to the world that you can have this too.
Thanks so much, Constance. And just listen, just talking to you, like we do, a few times a week here and there. It's just like you keep me inspired, and I listen to your shows every week pretty much, and I'm just so happy that you've got the ability to bring in so many great people onto your program to teach basically success and how to be happy. And it's you do it every single week, and and the world's blessed because of it.
I'm living it out. I'm living out what God has put in me. So that's what you hear. And so I'm just grateful. And what I'm going to tell listeners, listen to this again and again. Stop the recording and take notes. Pray and ask the Spirit to help you in the area with your thinking around money and abundance and prosperity. And kind of be like Bob Proctor, who reads every year Think and Grow Rich. He's read it for 40 years. You could take this one book and read it every day and read it and then begin to change your consciousness and then begin to take action. And there's no doubt about it that the universal laws and the science behind this will begin to bring riches into your life. No doubt about it. Well, once again, this is Constance Arnold with the Think, Believe, and Manifest talk show saying, guess what? God loves you. You know that I'm crazy about you and I love you. And remember this, the best is yet to come. You better believe it.
Thank you for listening to Think, Believe, and Manifest. Constance Arnold will be back next week with another great show just for you. For more information, please visit fulfillingyourpurpose.com.